Hi everyone, welcome back to the Singapore Open. We're about to begin our second round of games here between two probably of the most decorated players with the most eyes on today. Nelson Lim from Singapore, and I believe it's Chen from Australia.
Right, so both of them have been showing quite both of them have a strong showing this season. Nelson being the first Open champion.
Yeah, Nelson did take home the champion title at the first Singapore Open and is, I believe, either second or third in the Asia Pacific CP standings right now.
Right, and Jimmy
well on track to get a paid invite.
Jimmy did top cut the Malaysia mid-season showdown.
Yeah, and Jimmy definitely having a lot of hopes riding on this tournament, flying all the way from Australia to come and play in the hope of getting some CP to secure his invite to the World Championships. Right, and we have both teams on stream on the screen right now. Nelson running what looks to be a very, very standard team. Tapu Koko, Katana, Tapu Lele, Arcanine, Porygon 2, and Gigalith. Basically what has become commonly known as fake PG, perhaps with the exception of Tapu Lele over Tapu Fini.
Right, so Jimmy Chen deciding to run a Mimikyu Snorlax, Celesteela, Tapu Koko, Arcanine, and Tapu Fini team. Jimmy's team is rather similar to the one Daniel is running, as with a change of the Celesteela, Arcanine, as well as the Tapu Fini.
Jimmy's definitely not running an unorthodox team, but at the same time, it's not exactly what we're used to seeing all the time. Common mons, but put together in a combination that's slightly unusual, I would say. Very clear what his strong modes are. He has a strong trick room option. Both teams, in fact, have a very strong trick room option, although Nelson having the Gigalith probably has a bit of an upper hand. And we're about to jump into the battle right now. We see, in fact, a double Tapu Koko and Arcanine lead from both players. Pretty good choice. It's always a good lead to start with when you're not really sure what your opponent's main game plan is going to be, especially in this kind of matchups, which are, in a way, mirrors, but not quite as clear-cut as a direct mirror would be.
Right. Joel also did lead the same thing in the previous match.
And it seems like we've seen that I believe Nelson's Arcanine is actually slower than Jimmy's since his Intimidate went off second. And it's actually really hard to predict what happens in this situation without adequate information, since a lot of what could happen right now depends on what moves Arcanine and Tapu Koko have. For example, if either Tapu Koko were to hold the Electrum Z Crystal and could fire off a Gigavolt Havoc into the Arcanine, it would definitely help seize momentum a lot more, but perhaps if the Tapu Koko was holding Choice Specs, that would make the equation slightly more difficult, since there is no clean, easy KO to be had, unless the Arcanine has Helping Hand too. A lot of variables that both players have to consider right now, and they will probably want to take the most calculated choice possible, whilst capitalizing on what they know, what tricks they know they have up their sleeve.
Right, it's
a bit of a lag here, we're not sure what's going on. Okay.
So,
and
you do see the Protect from
what I believe was Jimmy's Tapu Koko.
Right, so a bit of Arcanine, okay. Right,
okay,
so
we do see a Z Crystal. It is going to be Gigavolt Havoc coming off
from Jimmy.
Not sure who that's going to be. It's hard to see now. That doesn't really give us any idea what. But we are going to see Gigavolt Havoc come off, probably into an opposing Arcanine, which is going to do a lot of damage and probably take out Arcanine unless it's holding the Assault Vest. We can see now whether that's the case. Is it going to be enough? No, not quite enough. Probably an Assault Vest Arcanine there. And Bulldoze coming off from Jimmy's Arcanine. Oh, interesting. We saw two Protects here. And Bulldoze coming off, revealing that yes, indeed, Jimmy's Arcanine is holding the Assault Vest, and that his Tapu Koko isn't holding a choice item, probably. And quite a good turn for Jimmy, probably. Jimmy probably benefited from the exchange much more than Nelson, really.
Right, so
having his Arcanine intact, alive.
Damage for some form of speed control, right?
Yep. Because now he can say safely for sure that his Tapu Koko is going to move before Nelson's and secure significant amounts of damage onto either of Nelson's Pokemon, regardless of which he chooses.
Nelson's Tapu Koko is definitely in range of a Flare Blitz, I believe.
Yep, I believe that but of course we can never really be sure if Arcanine is going to outspeed Tapu Koko, given how fast Tapu Koko can be and how bulky Arcanines tend to be ran these days. I think what's interesting to note though is that Jimmy's Arcanine is pinned down very heavily by the option of extreme speed from Nelson's Arcanine. So you have to imagine that something's going to be happening here, but looks like Arcanine's staying in actually. Maybe, I'm not sure because he can't protect since he's holding the Assault Vest. Stays in, but Nelson doesn't choose to punish that with the extreme speed.
So
his own Thunderbolt comes off, and we're about to see that
Right,
it's probably
so-
not holding choice specs.
So we do see the Flare Blitz as predicted onto the Gigalith. Gigalith gonna tank that quite nicely
Yep, and I believe Arcanine's actually going to go down at the end of this turn.
due to the sand chip
Despite the
damage.
Snarl miss because of the sand chip damage and the damage, the recoil damage taken from Flare Blitz. Unfortunate there for Nelson, I guess, since actually not really, since I believe Arcanine is going to go down.
Definitely sitting in a
I
good
could
spot
be
right
wrong.
here.
Arcanine is going to go down. Oh, it doesn't. That's actually
Quite
terrible for
unfortunate,
Nelson. Yeah. Spoke too soon, I guess.
So,
But he does get the Snarl off onto Tapu Koko, which
I
is
guess-
probably more important.
Now we can see whether the Nelson's Arcanine does carry the extreme speed.
Actually, on second thought, perhaps Nelson isn't really in that bad a position. Arcanine is once again pinned down by extreme speed. Although there is a small possibility that Nelson isn't running extreme speed. Wouldn't count on it though. And now Nelson actually has a lot of room to maneuver since Gigalith and Arcanine make for quite a strong combination against Arcanine and Tapu Koko. Would have been a lot worse if perhaps Arcanine went down and Jimmy was able to bring in
Right, so-
something like Snorlax or Tapu Fini.
Gigalith can maybe do a Rock Slide or either Heavy Slam here.
It's probably going to be able to take out Tapu Koko. Actually,
think?
that does a bit depend on what moves and spread Nelson is running.
Right.
But I'm guessing Nelson's going to have to bank on Jimmy protecting his Arcanine from the potential extreme speed now in order to seize any momentum back.
You did reveal that Jimmy's Arcanine is the
It's holding the Assault Vest,
Assault
so
Vest,
it
right?
probably
So
doesn't have
can't-
protect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Jimmy chooses to go for Thunderbolt onto Nelson's Arcanine,
So
dropping its HP down, but not doing enough as we
Yep,
see
the minus
the,
one
Figgy,
from
the Margot Berry, pardon.
the minus
Yep.
one from the
Yep, Snarl definitely coming in
Yeah.
clutch here. Flare Blitz is going off onto Tapu Koko. I don't think that'll be enough with the Intimidate Arcanine is taken earlier. And Rock
Yep,
Slide comes
Rock
off.
Slide.
I believe that will be enough to take out Tapu Koko and would do,
a decent amount of damage. I
Yeah.
mean, a bit of damage to Celesteela.
which is always crucial because Celesteela is a mon you need to
slowly
consistently
chip down. Right.
wear down with residual damage to work, to take out efficiently. We do see leftovers on Celesteela, just means it's not one of those more unorthodox Assault Vest or
Ground DMZ variants.
Ground DMZ sets. That would be a sight to behold. And would definitely be coming really handy right now, but I don't think we're going to be seeing Earthquake coming off. I'm going to guess that Jimmy's just going to bring in Arcanine here. No real
Yeah.
reason not to, since Nelson's Arcanine has taken a fair bit of residual damage. Would be effectively intimidated twice. And Gigalith is not going to want to face off against Celesteela with its attack card.
And minus 2 Arcanine, I don't think does pose any threat to a Celesteela, right?
Indeed. Given what Jimmy has brought here in Celesteela, I'm going to imagine that his endgame, the endgame that he's going to work towards would be Celesteela stalling out as many of Nelson's Pokemon as possible.
Right.
Oh, but we do see Tapu Fini coming in instead. Interesting.
It's still a solid option. Muddy Water being able to hit both of Nelson's side of the field.
Yep, but as always, it is Muddy Water. Not exactly the best move here, and I believe after a Snarl, it would not even take out Arcanine here. Never mind Gigalith, who has its special defense boosted by the Sandstorm. So it's not really a bad position for Jimmy, but I can't help but feel it's that an Arcanine switch is coming in on the Tapu Fini slot. He's probably trying to pressure Nelson into perhaps protecting one of his Pokemon so he can rack up the Intimidates more easily, which would defend very effectively against his Celesteela. It would defend his Celesteela very effectively right now.
We'll see what Nelson decides.
Nelson
to go
taking
for.
his time to choose his move, clearly a sign that he's aware of
What
Jimmy's
Jimmy's
varied
trying to do,
options.
right.
Yeah, I would be very cautious of the Arcanine switching now if I were him, definitely, since that would give Celesteela a free turn to set up. Oh, lagging a bit, tension is high. This is going to be quite a crucial turn here. Oh, but we see Celesteela retreat instead for Arcanine. Makes sense, I guess. Makes sense.
The Arcanine is pretty much dead at this point, so
Yeah,
I'll
since
see why
Tapu
he would
Fini can't
cycle
really
the
take that much.
Intimidate.
Oh, we see Nelson use Wide Guard. That could be bad if Jimmy chose to go for Muddy Water.
So we
Okay, and Snarl comes off, which
comes out.
misses the Tapu Fini. That's quite big, but at the same time, Nelson's going to be able to get off another Snarl next turn. And I believe he has pinned down Jimmy
Right.
to his last two Pokemon.
So Nelson, good prediction by Nelson here, predicting the Muddy Water from Fini.
This is
So-
actually really great for Nelson. There's the possibility that Fini is holding the choice specs now. It's not leftovers as we've seen, leftovers as on Celesteela. And now that Nelson has White Guard, has Gigalith alive, he can actually just
spam White Guard.
spam
right?
White Guard to kind of lock Tapu Fini down. And he has Arcanine relatively healthily. He has a one extra slot in the back. if Jamie brings in Celesteela now, Nelson could just easily switch out his Arcanine and bring it back later on to secure a KO with Flare Blitz, which is probably going to happen at this range since Gigalith should be able to. Gigalith actually wouldn't be able to get off Rock Slides, but
Celesteela does still pose a threat to Gigalith, right? With the potential Heavy Slam.
Heavy Slam doesn't actually do that much if without a Beast Boost or on bulkier Gigaliths, really. I think it's a 2 or 3 hit KO even on 252 HP Gigalith. So as long as Nelson's able to get out Arcanine, bring it back in another turn with the threat of Tapu Fini sort of mitigated, he should be in a really safe position here.
So
and he still has Tapu Koko in the back, don't forget that.
Yeah. So Tapu Koko definitely a solid check to both of Jimmy's mons now.
Yep. So I guess Nelson has to bring out Arcanine, switch out Arcanine. And he's probably he keeps Arcanine in. Perhaps he's confident enough that Tapu Koko will be able to seal out the game here.
So
now coming off, I guess his plan now is to take out Celesteela before Tapu Fini. But that would actually make sense since, Tapu Fini is possibly locked into Muddy Water, but we see that it's not. It's actually a support set probably. Healing Celesteela back to full HP, this could be big. Not the turn per se, but the fact that Tapu Fini is running a defensive set.
Looks like a 2-hit KO, right?
Heavy Slam, yes, that would be a 2-hit KO at this range. Nelson, unfortunately, getting punished for not perhaps playing a bit more conservatively and retreating his Arcanine while he still could.
I do think that the Snarl option was right on Nelson's part, I guess.
It's not a bad play, but at the same time, perhaps given the information he had on hand at that point, it was probably the best play to make. I wouldn't have done it, but it's not really an unsound decision, I would say. But he's still in a really great position. He has Willow Whips too, which is going to be able to burn Celesteela and help wear it down a little bit. Muddy Water is going to come off, dodges Arcanine. That's actually very, very useful. Perhaps at this point, after realizing that Jimmy's Tapu Fini isn't locked into Muddy Water, Nelson doesn't really want to protect his Gigalith. Although Gigalith would have stood around that turn had it not been for the crit. And
I don't think Nelson does want to seal up the endgame with Tapu Koko. That's why he went first now in the previous turn.
Yeah, that has to be the case, but I wouldn't consider that the safest option. Right now, Jimmy could protect a Celesteela, fire off a Muddy Water onto Tapu Koko, and if Nelson chooses to pressure Celesteela with Thunderbolt, there's the possibility of an accuracy drop, which could completely turn things around for Nelson.
Oh, it's quite unlikely that Jimmy will be able to knock out the Tapu Koko this turn, right?
He wouldn't, but what I would be concerned about if I was Nelson is the accuracy drop from Muddy Water. It's a real possibility, not very high, but
right, it could be the saving grace for Jimmy, right?
Yep, indeed, and I see no reason why Jimmy wouldn't go for that here. He has revealed too much information for him to play any information game really at this point, since it's very clear what his Tapu Fini set is likely to be.
So the advantage is definitely on Nelson's side of the field.
But Nelson calling it, going for the protect on Tapu Koko, hoping to bait out or protect either from Celesteela or Fini. We don't see Jimmy actually going for the play we talked about though.
Right.
Not a bad position for Nelson since another Snarl comes off, extra damage onto Celesteela.
So and Muddy Water? Yeah.
Muddy Water going into...
It should knock out the Arcanine.
I wonder, it's taken quite a few Snarls at this point.
Oh, well, we'll see.
Is it enough?
Nope,
not so.
Okay.
I guess one other interesting thing though at this point is that we've seen, I believe, Snarl, Willow Whips, and Flare Blitz from Nelson's Arcanine, but we haven't actually seen Extreme Speed. I wouldn't discount the fact that could be Nelson's last move, but at the same time...
He might be saving it for game 2 or 3,
Yeah,
right?
Definitely, but he did have plenty of opportunities to fire it off early in the game. If I were Jimmy, I would definitely be considering the possibility that Nelson doesn't have Extreme Speed, which is very crucial information going into game 2, since we saw that Jimmy did find himself playing very conservatively due to the possibility of Extreme Speed.
Nelson too is also playing very conservatively right here. He is playing to his odds by locking down both the Celesteela and the Tapu Fini, right?
Yep. Let's see what happens here. Fini is going for the protect, although I imagine that if I were Nelson, I'd be targeting Koko this turn. Do we see Thunderbolt going to Fini? Nope.
Goes in the Celesteela.
Yeah,
right.
I said down into Koko.
Okay.
Yep, takes out Celesteela as I meant to say.
So good call by Nelson right here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Nelson actually has this game sealed off here and now.
Nelson actually playing really decisively here, right?
Yeah, it didn't really start out as well as I would have liked it to if I were Nelson, but looks like he managed to turn the tables into his favor, and right now he's in a really commanding position. Whatever he has in the back is definitely going to take on Tapu Fini well.
Right,
and
so Jimmy Chen does recognize the situation and decides to forfeit.
Yeah. I wonder what Jimmy's gonna do in this game. Seems like his game plan really didn't work out as well as expected. Probably because his Tapu Fini just doesn't really put on enough offensive pressure, being a support set.
Arcanine is, well, Arcanine's bulk really did prevail this game, as you can see, and the utility provided by Arcanine being able to snarl and as well as burn the Celesteela.
Yep, showing very well here why Arcanine is the most used mon in this format and in this tournament too. I actually think Jimmy would have a pretty good chance of taking control of the game should he lead with Mimikyu and Snorlax. I don't think Nelson would really daringly lead Gigalith into this game given what we've seen Jimmy have in the form of Celesteela and Tapu Fini.
Right.
So without Gigalith out on the field right on the turn 1, he might actually be able to get off a setup from either Mimikyu or Snorlax. Will-O-Wisp from Arcanine is a concern, but he could maneuver Fini in, and I don't really see Nelson having any quick and fast way to take out Snorlax should it be protected by Misty Terrain. Right, so it's not an easy position to maneuver to, but I think it's a possibility.
Yeah, the trick room option for Jimmy is definitely more beneficial, right?
Yep, it's definitely something to consider too, given that Nelson's main defense against Trick Room really is his own core of Porygon 2 Gigalith, which is very exploitable by a well-maneuvered Snorlax.
So we'll see if Jimmy decides to go for the, that's what you said, the Mimikyu and Snorlax lead.
I would definitely consider that a better option against Nelson's team, given how many options Nelson has to wear down and take out Celesteela. Right. We saw that Celesteela really didn't have any breathing space to set up at all last game because of the sheer firepower from Arcanine and the Shred Tapu Koko poses with its speedy Thunderbolt, especially since he had terrain control.
Right. I do think that Nelson would probably lead the same lead the next game.
Yeah, and if I were Jimmy, I would have to be banking on that. Although we do see Nelson's really taking his time to consider his options here, so perhaps he's choosing to switch things up, which would be a very high-level play. Wouldn't put it past Nelson to do that, given his credentials. You know, he's finished top 12 in the Oceania International Championships, held his own against some of the world's strongest players, and he has won the previous Singapore Open, even back in the format's infancy, despite firing off an electric attack from his Tapu Koko while his own Marowak was on the field.
Well, it was still pretty early in the format, so I guess we can discount that fact.
Still hilarious though, but we see Jimmy sticking with his Arcanine Koko lead.
Do we see?
And we see Nelson going with the exact same
as predicted from Nelson's side.
Yeah. Information this time is going to play a much more crucial role though, since both Nelson and Jimmy are more acutely aware of what their opponent's sets are.
Yeah,
and it's probably actually in Nelson's favor, I would say, since we know that Gigabot Havoc is not going to take out Jimmy's Assault Vest Arcanine, indeed.
Right. So it's also kind of interesting to see how Jimmy would decide to play this lead, I guess.
I guess it does make sense in that Bulldoze puts Arcanine in a really good position here. But I really can't imagine Celesteela and Tapu Fini hiding in the back this game. He has to have brought at least Snorlax or Mimikyu, I would say. It's Celesteela and Tapu Fini just didn't work out for him very nicely at all last game. I guess Nelson's gonna want to play defensively this turn since the threat of Bulldoze is a
expect
big problem.
Jimmy to prioritize taking down the Tapu Koko, right?
Yeah, I think at this point Jimmy has to make a big play this turn in order to get anything to work out, because we saw last turn that Nelson has the advantage in terms of sheer firepower.
So we'll see if Jimmy decides to go for the offensive this turn.
Yep, okay, Nelson protecting Arcanine as expected, now that he's well aware of the Bulldoze. Are we going to see Extreme Speed?
Extreme Speed, right.
Ooh, is Jimmy trying to secure a KO on Tapu Koko with a Z move?
I do think so.
Is that Twinkle Tackle?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was definitely the play to make. It takes out Nelson's Tapu Koko, takes advantage of information that Nelson previously wasn't aware of. And despite the crit, I think it would have secured the KO quite easily, given that Nelson was running a Gigavolt Havoc Tapu Koko. So it's probably not too bulky.
Right, so
that's Tapu Koko down for sure.
Nelson, Jimmy, as predicted, does go on the offensive on Tapu Koko.
Yeah.
Recognizing that it's a threat to his team.
Yep, and definitely playing well aware that Nelson was going to conserve Arcanine right now. Yeah, this is good for Jimmy. In fact, actually, if he brought Celesteela now, I think I would take back everything I said. He's in the perfect position to set up Celesteela since Arcanine is pressured too now.
Well, we can't discount the fact that the Arcanine does still have the potential to hinder Celestia from putting any offensive pressure on Nelson.
That's true, but I believe Nelson's Arcanine is probably not as bulky as we think it is. So,
Right.
well, actually, we do see Lele coming in. That's perhaps an even clearer indication that Nelson's Arcanine is not packing extreme speed, since usually Arcanines paired with Tapu Lele don't tend to want extreme speed, since they'll be counting on Lele's terrain. Lele sitting next to it with its terrain up to maintain offensive pressure.
So we do see the bulldoze coming from Jimmy's side of the field, lowering the speed of both of Nelson's mon.
It was probably directed at Tapu Lele, since Jimmy's not entirely sure what item Tapu Lele is holding.
Right, so it does reveal that it's not Scarf, right?
Yep, we do see that it's slower than Arcanine, so bulldoze probably not absolutely necessary.
So
I believe that was a psychic fire off into Tapu Koko, right?
yeah,
for
right.
Nelson.
So do you reckon it's specs?
Hard to say. Actually, I gotta admit I didn't really catch the speed, the turn order properly there. I think Arcanine moved before Tapu Lele, right? I wasn't really paying attention.
Neither
Yeah,
was
but
I.
we gotta imagine Jimmy knows, and that's definitely gonna affect his play this turn.
Right.
Afraid we didn't really catch it, folks, but okay, Nelson retreating Tapu Lele. I'm gonna guess it's slower then.
Okay.
And he does send out Gigalith here, so have to wonder whether those were the 4 Pokemon he chose to brought last game.
Yep.
Since Gigalith without his own trigger remote makes a little less sense than I would think, unless Nelson was anticipating this game that Jimmy would be bringing Snorlax and Mimikyu.
So Nelson,
And if Jimmy is forced to bring in either Snorlax or Mimikyu right now, I think Nelson's in a pretty good spot, don't you think?
I do think Jimmy has the control of the game here, right?
Yeah, I guess that really depends on what he's going to bring in now.
Right.
We
Nelson
see
is definitely
Snorlax.
playing defensively right here, as he
Yeah.
expects a Flare Blitz, yep, onto the
Yeah.
Lele slot. So Gigalith does soak that up
Very
quite
well.
nicely.
Yep.
Right.
Oh, but he gets the burn. That's
Oh.
terrible. I was about to go on about how Nelson's in a perfect position to set up Gigalith and go toe-to-toe with Snorlax, since both Gigalith and Snorlax hit the field on the same turn, Gigalith taking minimal residual damage or
Right.
possibly,
I'm afraid
yeah.
that's not the case right here.
yeah, a burn really kind of stops any hopes of Nelson securing a Gigalith sweep here, backing him harsher into a corner that he
Right,
was
but
already slowly
Nelson
being.
did reveal that his Arcanine has the Will-O-Wisp, right? So Nelson still has the potential to burn the Snorlax, render it
Yeah,
less
he has the choice,
to
the,
relieve
the
offensive
option.
pressure.
He has the option of neutering
Yeah.
Snorlax, but there's always the possibility that Jimmy is backing Tapu Fini as well, which would be
Right.
what I would be inclined to believe, seeing that he chose to switch in Snorlax quickly into Arcanine, despite knowing that there's Will-O-Wisps on Nelson's Arcanine. But Gigalith being burned is just really
Unfortunate, right?
unfortunate for Nelson. It's going to be hard for him to claw his way out of this. If I were Nelson, I would be preparing a game tree, honestly, since Lele is not going to want to face off against.
You don't want to count Nelson out here. You see how he plays things out, right?
It's possible, but very, very unlikely. I mean, yeah, Nelson's been known to make obnoxiously Hail Mary plays when backed into type corners. So we'll have to see. Nelson goes for the Will-O-Wisp, not
onto the
fearing
Snorlax.
the Tapu Fini switch in surprisingly, or perhaps realizing that that is his Hail Mary play.
Well,
Yeah, high horsepower coming in and Celesteela getting in, not exactly in the best position if I may say so myself, since Nelson still has Arcanine alive.
well,
But
to be honest, I feel that going for the Will-O-Wisp was Nelson's most optimal play, right? Even
Yeah.
though if Jimmy hypothetically had the Tapu Fini, Nelson still could have switched his Lele in and then reset the turret and then burn the Snorlax the next turn, right?
That's true. Yeah, but I guess switching Lele in at this health would be cutting it really close. But
Right.
I mean, it's quite obvious at this point that Nelson doesn't really have many outs, and I think he's playing reasonably well to what he had, what small sliver of hope he still has.
Right, he's trying to maybe catch a misplay from Jimmy and try to work his way back
Yep,
from there.
that's definitely what a good player would be doing at this stage, really. Since at this point, I don't think Nelson has much information to hide either. Okay, back to the game. Celesteela sitting there, not in the best position. I imagine Arcanine's coming in one of those slots right now. Or, yep, Celesteela out, Arcanine coming back in to get another round of Intimidate off, which really just rubs more salt into Nelson's already bleeding wounds.
Jimmy's definitely like he's actually playing the switch momentum right here. Really
Yeah.
well.
Showing himself as an excellent player of Celesteela, actually, the way he's conserving his Nelson actually gets a crit now. Probably not the crit he wanted. Possibly the crit he wanted, but just not into that Arcanine, into the Celesteela that was on the field earlier. And Stone Edge. Nelson definitely playing to you know, the potential critical hits he could muster. But unfortunately he doesn't get it. That would have been really big there. Actually, I don't think crits ignore burns attack drop, right? So either way that wouldn't have sealed it out. My bad. Kind of a bit rusty. I haven't dealt with a situation like that in a while.
Well, you did do reasonably well, right?
Yeah, but it's a rare situation to see burn actually inflicted these days with how popular Tapu Fini is and how
well, yeah,
with Tapu Fini being such a big thing, Will-O-Wisp has been a bit hard to squeeze on the most Pokemon, save for Drifblim. Okay, Jimmy Snorlax basically sitting there still very well. 4 Pokemon. Kind of upset that Nelson's not forfeiting the game yet because I can't wait to move on to a more exciting game tree, but guess we'll have to wait. I really think there's not much Nelson can do to claw his way back from this position.
Yeah,
since like
Jimmy can just abuse the situation he's in and just like cycle the intimidates.
Yep. I guess he might want to retreat Snorlax this turn actually, since Nelson could possibly. Oh wait, no, that wouldn't give him the option of keeping Arcanine back.
I think he would switch out the Arcanine.
Yeah. But Nelson could predict that and go for Flare Blitz, and I imagine Jimmy's probably a bit afraid now that he's very consciously aware of the possibility that a critical hit lands in that slot after what happened last turn.
Right, so okay, the Arcanine not switching.
And going for Flare Blitz into Nelson's Arcanine.
I guess he predicts that Nelson would punish him for the switch. Right.
Yeah, as I was saying, that critical hit probably kind of scared him a little bit.
Yeah, Nelson does Flare Blitz into the Arcanine slot.
Yep, I don't think that's going to be enough at this range. Yep, not even with Sandstorm damage. So, Extreme Speed is still an option next turn. That's really big. Jimmy goes for high horsepower into Gigalith, not expecting to protect or choosing to punish it. Can't really blame him. It wasn't exactly a very obvious play. But still in a fantastic position. It's really going to be hard for Nelson to get out of this. It's really dreadfully long though. I'm running out of things to say.
If Nelson does want to really, secure this win, he actually needs to conserve the Arcanine, right?
Probably. He lost Coco, right? Yeah, and has only Tapu Lele. I'm actually a bit surprised he hasn't switched out Arcanine yet. Seems like that would have to be his out. If he was really playing for keeps right now, I would probably want to get Arcanine out the same turn Celesteela comes in, so that I can bring Arcanine in the next turn and kind of neuter Celesteela further.
So what I'm actually seeing Nelson do is he's saving the Gigalith for the Coco and he's saving the Arcanine for the Celesteela.
That's true, but I don't know, I just think it's really an impossible position for Nelson.
Right, and he doesn't want the Lele to actually get chipped down to that point where either the Arcanine or the Snorlax can take it down the next turn.
Yeah, but unfortunately I think he's a bit too close to that point. Lele has taken a bit of chip damage earlier.
Right.
Snorlax, even when burn, is going to be able to beat take on Lele quite nicely one-on-one, especially since Jimmy still has the option of cancelling out Psychic Terrain with Electric Terrain.
So,
Fire Blitz coming off from Arcanine, doing massive damage onto Nelson's Arcanine. I believe Nelson's Arcanine's berry has been triggered earlier in the game.
Right, and it's going to die to its own recoil.
Yeah, so that's basically Nelson's only out against Celesteela
taken away from
wasted, and I think we're going to see game 3 very soon, folks. Recycle coming off.
So I don't see a way out for Nelson.
Yeah, I don't think most of us saw a way out a long time ago. Just prolonged death thanks to the 50% berries that we've seen so much of this game, showing why they're such a strong option and a real staple in VGC at this point. Sandstorm's gone. A bit good. It's good in a way for the Nelson's Tapu Lele, but I can't imagine this really changing anything. Since, Jimmy can quite safely bring Celesteela in now. Nelson not going to be able to get a KO, even with perhaps a surprise Thunderbolt from Tapu Lele. Would a Gigavolt Havoc be enough? I don't think so.
Probably.
Yeah.
Would probably be enough.
Would probably be enough?
Yeah.
I'm a bit rusty with that. I haven't seen that in ages. Only way Jimmy could screw that up for himself really would be to activate his own Electric Terrain. But of course that itself is discussing the very far-fetched possibility that Nelson is running Thunderbolt on Tapu Lele.
Right.
Yeah, anyway, Coco comes in, which means, let's see, Jimmy has burned his Z move. I don't think he can really take out Gigalith quickly and easily this turn.
The only real threat on Nelson's side of the field would be the Tapu Lele, right?
That's true.
So I expect And the Celestia does check the AA, so I'll expect him to actually target the Nelson's Gigalith at this point.
I'm actually a bit surprised now that Jimmy brought in Coco, given that he knew he was going to lose the terrain war. But I guess this also gives him this option of vote switching out, which I was about to say that really is his only option at this point, since he really doesn't want Nelson to have the terrain advantage to make his win a bit more convincing.
Jimmy is actually not actually giving room for Nelson to come back, right?
I think he might just have, but I was just about to mention that Coco coming in, Lele getting psychic terrain up means that Nelson could fire off a very strong psychic into Snorlax, which could possibly get a critical hit. I think that would be enough for most, given how most Leles are run these days.
Oh, there's also the potential of the special defense drop, right?
Yeah, that could be big, but doesn't happen, so I guess Jimmy not really being punished for the small hole he gave Nelson to come back, and Celesteela coming in quite nicely. Jimmy can get his own electric terrain back, which would neuter Nelson's Tapu Lele.
Right, so Nelson deciding to...
Nelson finally conceding defeat and realizing that this game, Lady Luck just wasn't in his favor with the burn on Gigalith. And with the added information he has now, I think he's going to be able to consider a much stronger game 3.
Yeah, Nelson did play to his odds, right?
Yeah, he did, but I said, Lady Luck just wasn't smiling on him today.
Yeah, but we can see Jimmy's team is rather bulky with very good switches into Nelson's attacks.
That's one thing I actually really hate about this format now, though. Most teams, largely in part due to how amazing the 50% berries are, tend to be as bulky as what you've seen here, and as a result, games themselves tend not to be divided by perhaps hard reads, strong plays, strong turns, but more by critical hits and unfortunate burns. Nelson and Jimmy were both playing a very defensive war of attrition, games of attrition there, and unfortunately, Nelson was the first to perhaps get punished for playing so passively, and trapped him into that position where he just couldn't claw his way back comfortably at all.
Right.
And that's a big part of why I'm not honestly not keen on this format so much, but hey, I think it makes for a good spectator sport, not gonna lie.
I mean...
so what do you think, you have to imagine Nelson's gonna adapt his play a little bit here, since Snorlax kind of destabilized his core a little bit, they're forcing him to play a bit differently.
I do foresee Nelson leading almost the same, keeping the Gigalith, because the Gigalith does do fairly well against Jimmy's side of the field.
That's true.
Whether or not he would, I guess, switch out the lead order is what I'm curious about.
That's certainly very true. We still haven't really seen what Nelson's fourth move on Arcanine. Oh wait, it was Protect, so he has no extreme speed. And I think Jimmy should have known that from game 2. Perhaps we're not paying as good attention as we should be, given that, oh yeah, we missed the Protect because of the lag. Makes sense.
Right,
I personally think Nelson shouldn't be bringing Tapu Lele this game. The terrain control isn't really as significant here as he would like to be. I'm wondering whether getting speed control with Porygon 2 and getting more immediate pressure with Gigalith would be his best option here.
Well, it's hard to pass up on the Tapu Lele, right? Because it does do really good damage to like 5 out of 6 months on Jimmy's side of the field.
That is true. But I have to imagine that given that we know that Lele isn't holding the Choice Scarf, it's going to be very, very difficult for Nelson to actually get Lele into that position where he can really apply offensive pressure. Since he is slower than an Arcanine packing Snarl.
We just have to see like how well Nelson is able to maneuver his Mons this time around.
And we see Jimmy finally going for the Mimikyu Snorlax lead, which we mentioned earlier
game 2, right?
Would probably be a very strong option against Nelson's 2 here, since we are very confident now that Nelson does not have Raw on his Arcanine. He has no way of stopping Mimikyu from getting Trick Room up this turn.
Right, Snorlax can also potentially go for a setup right this turn.
Yeah, although Snorlax is more likely to be punished for it, I can't imagine Snorlax actually, probably not the best option here, since don't forget Nelson's Arcanine does have Will-O-Wisp.
Even if Snorlax does belly drum, it's still in a relatively good position after the Will-O-Wisp, right?
I wonder, Snorlax, right, Intimidate would be negated by the belly drum. I'm actually not entirely sure, given that calculation, or the calculation of burn Will-O-Wisps going on to Gigalith is very, very dependent on how much both Gigalith and Snorlax invest. I believe there is the possibility that it doesn't net the KO cleanly. Because you have to imagine that if Nelson's getting Coco out, he's going to bring Gigalith in now.
How Jimmy wants to play his match out. He has 2 options. He can actually force the pressure onto Nelson, force Nelson to play defensively here, or he can actually capitalize on Nelson being defensive and go for like a setup play, right?
Yep. We do see Nelson going for the Volt Switch as expected. Have to imagine Gigalith is coming in now. Since that would allow him to stand on relatively even footing with Jimmy Snorlax.
Right,
And I think we're going to see Will-O-Wisp.
Yeah. Seeing how how defensively Nelson has played this time around.
Yep, Will-O-Wisp comes off. Is he going to land it? He does land it, fortunately for him. But into Mimikyu.
Mimikyu, so
that's
rather
actually interesting.
Right?
Since this could be bad if Jimmy's just going to get Belly Drum up and Trick Room.
Jimmy decides to go for an offensive play, forcing pressure onto Nelson's side of the field.
Yeah, so I don't want to count Nelson out, but I think he's just about lost this game. Snorlax is so healthy. Mimikyu just got up Trick Room for free. The burn not really going to matter because Mimikyu's base attack is so pathetic anyway, and it's been intimidated.
Well, it's actually up to whether Gigalith can survive a +4.
It's +6, I believe. Right? Yeah,
after the burn.
Mimikyu. No, he didn't burn Snorlax, which is why I'm a bit puzzled by that, honestly, because burning Snorlax would have been the play. Mimikyu isn't really much of a threat now since it hasn't actually managed to take the boost from Snorlax yet with Psych Up. If that is even an option for Jimmy, we can't really be sure.
Right, so
yeah, I just kind of have a feel that Nelson might have just thrown this game.
Jimmy actually sitting pretty with his +6 Snorlax.
Yeah, which is free to fire off a high horsepower into Gigalith. And if he has Tapu Fini in the back, he could just retreat Mimikyu for Tapu Fini, preventing Arcanine from pretty much doing anything to Snorlax at this point. Since, well, I guess Flabits would still do a lot of damage, but it's not really enough, I think, to seal things over. Oh, but
so
yeah,
there is does underspeed the Snorlax right here.
Then there is Rock Slide. I actually forgot about that.
The flinch would be quite beneficial for Nelson here, right?
Yeah.
So,
very characteristic of Nelson here.
Doesn't get the flinch. And
making the optimal play to claw his way back from a situation created by a terrible, terrible play.
Well, it wasn't a terrible play. I guess he maybe predicted a switch out from Snorlax, I guess.
Yeah. He might actually get rewarded for it right now. I think there is a possibility that Rock Slide takes out Snorlax. I mean, if Snorlax just needs to take the flinch
with the sand chip damage.
Yeah, or crit actually, to deny the recycle. Or if Snorlax chooses to attack this turn instead of getting the recycle off, yeah, it's gone. If Rock Slide hits. And look here, we have Katana now. That's really bad for both Snorlax and Mimikyu.
Well, do you think Jimmy has the Arcanine at the back? Because
that would be good for him. Yeah.
Right.
I wonder though, not bringing a Tapu would. Oh, he could have brought Arcanine and Fini.
Right.
That'll probably be his out right now, given that Nelson could cheese his way through this with Stone Edge that misses. Oh, that's really unfortunate. Is Gigalith going to go down?
He had any reason to go for the Stone Edge at that point?
Yes, he did, but I think Stone Edge actually has a lower chance of connecting and getting a connecting. Wait, okay, Stone Edge has a 20% chance to connect. And assuming that Stone Edge would have taken out Snorlax at that range, Rock Slide might actually have been the better play with the flinch chance. Right. Yeah.
As well as the, I mean, the Sandstorm is still up, and the chip damage might actually, you know, wear Snorlax down to an extent where the Rock Slide might kill it, right?
Stone Edge might actually, I would have gone for Rock Slide there. I'm not entirely sure of the percentages.
I would have gone for Rock Slide, actually.
Someone at home would probably calculate that with the computer in front of them right now. We don't really have the necessary resources. But I kind of have a feel that Rock Slide would have been the play there and would have stole so much more momentum for Nelson, especially since he doesn't really want to take out Mimikyu, since Mimikyu at that point was really a sitting duck in front of Katana, which, and by taking out Mimikyu, we see Celesteela coming in, and that's really bad for Katana. And
I'm pretty
Katana's trapped. Trick Room's not going to run out in time. I don't think Nelson
I'm pretty sure that Nelson was just fearing the Rock Slide wouldn't be able to KO the Snorlax. That's why he went for the gamble and take Stone Edge.
I mean, the percentages you need to take in account for would be high horsepower hitting, Rock Slide getting the flinch, Stone Edge missing.
Right, we actually didn't know the exact calcs of the Rock Slide damage, right?
Based on what we saw earlier, I think Rock Slide would have brought Snorlax down to the point where if Jimmy didn't go for recycle, he would be punished that turn and lose Snorlax at the end of the turn.
Right.
Even at the expense of, even if Nelson were to lose his Gigalith. Whereas now Nelson is basically forced to
stall out
Trick Room and protect, and I don't think that's going to happen soon enough. Once again, admittedly, we're not really keeping track, but my gut feeling tells me so. We'll find out at the end of this turn anyway. If Trick Room expires now, Nelson still has a shot. If not, it's looking really bad. Still has a shot, but it's looking bad. Really bad. Trick Room's not out. Celesteela could fire off a flamethrower into Katana. Snorlax could fire off a boosted attack of any kind on Tapu Koko, and
if
then
Tapu
seal the
Koko
game.
manages to get the double protect here, it'll be actually really fortunate for
Yeah.
him. So
He
we do
needs
see, oh,
double protects, which he does not get. Return coming off
So I
into
guess
Koko.
that's game for.
That's game.
Right.
Yep, that's it.
So really
Nelson,
well played by Jimmy right here,
Yeah.
forcing the offensive and making Nelson play rather reactively towards his setup.
Yeah. I still do believe Nelson actually lost that game on turn 1 when he
Will-O-Wisp
Mimikyu instead
right.
of Snorlax. Had he Will-O-Wisp Snorlax, I believe he would have still quite a strong fighting chance.
Right.
And it really just snowballed from there. Turn 1, Nelson made a slightly suboptimal play, and it kind of snowballed into another series of positions where he had to make really, really hard reads, or he just didn't really make the plays he needed to capitalize on the situations he was left behind. Being forced to go to choose between Stone Edge or a Rock Slide Flinch wasn't good to start with, and I think he still lost it by still pressing Stone Edge instead, which I think was a suboptimal decision. So
yeah, I mean,
relatively well played game by Jimmy, I would say, but from Nelson's
how
side,
the
a bit
game
disappointing.
goes in VGC. It could end really fast or get stalled out, right?
Yeah, I guess I really think it just came down to Nelson making the bad play on turn 1, which actually contradicts what I said earlier before this game about games this format not being decided by single turns. I think Nelson has just shown us otherwise.
Right. Would you think that the Flare Blitz and Thunderbolt on Snorlax would be able to KO it?
Flare Blitz and Thunderbolt onto Snorlax.
Don't think so, right?
Don't think so, because Thunderbolt would
But
probably bring Snorlax to the point where
Do you think
Figgy
it
Berry
would
would
prevent him from setting up the belly drum?
It would, but he would still have, even if he gets a belly drum, okay, even if Jimmy's Snorlax was brought down to the point where it would faint the next turn, because I'm quite confident that Koko plus Arcanine would not be able to take out. Wait, actually, Nelson and Gigavolt Havoc on Snorlax, right?
Yeah,
on
he had
Koko,
Gigavolt
sorry.
Havoc, right. So
but
next
he-
the question whether
Would
he should,
that be
would
have enough?
should Nelson go for the offensive?
My hazy memory tells me that unless Nelson was modest, he wouldn't have a shot. Could possibly be modest though. We did see him lose the speed tie first game.
Right.
Yeah, perhaps that's another distinct possibility that Nelson simply overlooked
yeah.
and kind of cost him the game. Letting Snorlax set up on turn 1 was a big mistake, and we saw him really get punished for it.
I mean, it happens sometimes,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes we do have like
Slip
tunnel
outs.
vision,
Yeah.
slip outs.
Really
right?
bad one to make though, since it's kind of strange though, because given that if tunnel vision were a problem, if anything, the tunnel vision would force Nelson to fixate his attention on Snorlax, not Mimikyu, since Mimikyu is really not posing much of a threat.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I think we're going to be able to speak to Jimmy for a while soon, so just hang on and we'll bring you an interview with Jimmy, and hopefully we'll be able to dissect more of that very interesting game. Okay, hi guys, and we're back. Sitting next to me now is the guy who won last set, Jimmy Chen from Australia. Congrats on that win. That was quite a commanding victory. I really like what the play you made on turn 2. Game 2, turn 1, where you knew that Nelson was going to protect his Arcanine and probably expose his Tapu Koko, and you really punished it hard. That was really good from you. And my commentator and I were discussing that Mimikyu Snorlax would probably be your best out, which you did recognize in game 3. Just wondering, did it cross your mind in game 2, or were you so fixated on going for that really fabulous play with Twinkle Tackle that you kind of eliminated that option?
Well, in game 2, I didn't realize he'd protect Arcanine. Like, I kind of had that feeling, but I thought that Koko would have been like a really big threat, because barring Koko and Arcanine, and his Arcanine had Flare Blitz, I thought that Celesteela would win me the game. So once I got rid of the Koko, I thought I had a really good chance. Yeah, game 3, I took a gamble actually, because I didn't think that Mimikyu Snorlax would be an out, but it turned out that I don't know, he played it suboptimally, I reckon, but at the same time, I think I punished him. So for game 3, I brought Mimilax just to change things up a little bit.
Yeah, I would have to agree that Game 3 felt like a case of a really suboptimal play on turn 1, snowballing into a series of really tough positions for Nelson, which forced him to have to make really hard reads. And yeah, I mean, but that's what Mimikyu Snorlax does, and I think it's good. It really tends to create force players to play with tunnel vision, and I mean, it worked out well for you.
Yeah, I guess so.
One more thing, just wondering what was your thought in actually bringing Celesteela the first game? Because I mean, my impression as a player would be that Nelson's team wasn't exactly very Celesteela friendly, given how he had Coco and Arcanine. Were you a bit worried game 1 after realizing that Nelson was able to pressure Celesteela so effectively?
Actually, I brought Celesteela thinking that it'd be like a win con at the back of my game, but I realized that I didn't play it that well, and Nelson punished it as well. Yeah. So yeah, Celesteela didn't really do much work, but I don't know, like I thought personally that Celesteela would have been a great win con if I got rid of the Coco, but I couldn't get rid of the Coco, so yeah.
Bit of a tall order, eh? Both Coco and Arcanine.
Yeah, I guess so, but...
Well, once again, congratulations on your victory.
Yeah.
I think you played really well.
Yeah,
both,
thank you.
Throughout the set, game 1, you definitely tried to keep your outs open.
Yeah.
Game 2, game 3, you adapted and really seized control of the games really well.
Yeah, thank you.
Just wondering, we're not really sure where you stand in the CP standings right now. How close are you to Worlds?
I think I'm 70-something points away.
70-something points away,
yeah.
so a victory today might actually be enough, right?
No, I'm going to Taiwan.
You're going to Taiwan as well tonight.
Yeah, so I can't get my win today.
And
so
you're from Sydney, I believe, right?
I am from Sydney.
Which has regionals coming soon.
Oh, I didn't realize. Like I booked, and then Sydney regionals came out. So
that's quite a elaborate buffet spread of CP you have right for the picking.
Well, I have to play well first, so yeah.
Yeah,
I'm pretty stoked that I did well today.
I mean, it would be nice to secure that invite today.
It is.
Hell, you could probably get a day 2 invite at this rate, really.
Oh no, that's a bit of a tall order. I think right now, I think I should be focusing on playing well. Yeah, playing well is like the priority. Whether I get CP or not, whether I get my day 1, day 2, doesn't really matter. Just play well.
Yep. Okay. Great to see you here. I am sure you hope to be back later on in the day, or maybe tomorrow for. Oh, you're going to Taiwan, so you won't be around for Top Part tomorrow.
I won't be here for Top Part.
That's
so
interesting.
Yeah. Today's just practice for now. Yeah.
Okay. I think we need to cut to the next round. So pleasure to have you on the stream, and all the best with your next few games.
All right. Thank you.